You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
I think, yes, there we go. I'm here. It's working. The power of going live, which everyone has seen me turn into a shit show before. Welcome back to Hit It, everyone. The BQN's Patreon recap of the latest episodes of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Season 3, live on YouTube, or you could be listening to the recap on the podcast or the recap on YouTube as well. If you are joining us live today, please give us your thoughts on everything we discuss in the chat, because we've got a lot to unpack today as we are covering off the episodes 4.5 Vulcans, not 2.5 Vulcans as I called it before we went live, and Terrarium. So there will be spoilers, so if you haven't watched the episodes yet, might be a good idea to leave and come back later on when you have and see if you agree or disagree with any of our thoughts. If you would like to be a part of one of our BQN patron panels like this, you can sign up to be a patron over at patreon.com/PQN. Everyone on the Scorpion tier or above is invited to take part in these fun little shows. Joining me today, my Melbourne brother from another mother, it's Stevie Russell. Steve, how are you?
I'm fantastic.
Good to see you in your JJ Cruise badge, Mr. Jenediah. Love it.
He is beautiful.
Joining us always is, well, just one of my many brothers from another mother. It's Jim McMahon. Hey, Jim.
Hi, everybody.
And my podcasting boss, associate producer of the Trexperts quiz, now Trek Masters, it is Sam Johnson. Hey, Sam.
You're doing a heck of a job, Davey.
All right.
Looking forward to seeing that one come back, Davey.
Next week. We've been doing a lot of work. It's really, really exciting. I can't wait for you all to see, but we'll leave that until it actually happens. But we got a lot to unpack today. So we've got 2 episodes. One's a little controversial. The other maybe not so much. We've already discovered from chatting before we went live that we may have some differing opinions, which I think is going to make this a really interesting chat. So I'm going to do quickly around the room. 4.5 Vulcans, agree or disagree, even though that's not from that episode. Stevie, agree or disagree, 4.5 Vulcans?
Agree, I love it.
Okay. Jim?
I agree the episode could be entertaining at times, but I disagree on the episode having a bright future.
The episode having a bright future.
I couldn't think of another way to say it.
The episode needs to get itself into rehab and clean up its act. Sam, 4.5 Vulcans, agree or disagree?
Worse than Come Along Home from Deep Space Nine.
Ooh, okay, yeah. I've seen people comparing it to Code of Honor and Spock's brain.
Yes, I have too.
Yeah, it's certainly divided the fans. But what doesn't divide the fans is the fact that Galaxy Classes, another Steven, has just joined us. Hey there, how are you?
Hello.
We're just playing a little game when it comes to 4.5 Vulcans. We're just playing a little game of agree or disagree. Do you agree or disagree with 4.5 Vulcans?
With its existence? Like what?
It's some tea.
More or less.
I thought it was fun.
Yeah, you enjoyed it? That's okay.
Yeah.
I agree with parts of it. Like, parts of it I enjoyed. Parts of it I was like wanting to tear my eyeballs out and my ears at the same time, if both were possible. But anyway, we're gonna do our traditional run through the episode. I forced myself to do a second watch with subtitles on so I could take blow by blow notes. So I'm going to run through it, and we're going to chat about some of the important points of the episode. So, first of all, we open up with a first officer's log. We've got Una telling us that we are at Pumante 3, which is a well-known destination spot and also sounds like something you would take for reflux, but anyway.
The side effects of Pumante 3 could possibly be.
Just me thought that. Fair enough. I liked the initial scene, the bit of girl talk going on between Una and Laan, discussing why Una is not taking time off. Thoughts on the sort of this is as a cute little character moment from the audience. I'll go around the screen. I'll start with Melbourne Steve.
I love the girl talk because it's my kind of talk. They're just being very real, I won't say vulnerable, just very real about the situation. Like, what's going on with you and Spock? Why do you want to know? Like, trying to define their relationship. She's like, I don't want to really define it. What's up with you? Diving into me. I want to know what's going on with you.
Yeah. It's a very relatable, anyone that's been in a situationship, we're casually dating or, no labels kind of situation.
But his reaction at the table, he gets sent off to the little kiddie table, is like hilarious.
I know. I did write in my notes, I do love how he kind of like flips that napkin out and he just sits there like a kid, like eating his little sandwich. I'll go Galaxy class Steve next. What were your thoughts on this scene?
So I think that, so I just, this is, bear with me. This is kind of random.
Let's go.
I come from a military family, and hearing about like what it was like when my dad served on ships back in the 70s, this feels more like there was less formality. You're on the ship for a long time. Like you could be out to sea for like 6 weeks. So you like really get close with your shipmates. So like, I imagine this, not my dad and his buddies quite on this level, but like this kind of like banter, right? This sort of camaraderie and oh my God, like I need to know what's going on with this, right? Not quite in that way, but kind of in that way.
Yeah, like interpersonal dynamics that maybe aren't as like clinical as they could be on like TNG, and maybe a little bit more like what they were like on Deep Space Nine, where you had like the really strong relationships between characters like Dax and Kira, or O'Brien and Bashir, and they're just talking about their relationship woes and all that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, you can imagine it'd be a little bit more like that, right? What about you, Sam?
I love the little character moments this season. I will say there's been a lot of hit or miss for episodes, but I feel like Una is shining bright this season.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. Let's see when we get to a particular scene if you still feel like she shined really bright. Jim, what about you?
I did kind of enjoy the humor of the episode with Spock's, I'll just say, uncomfortability in that scene. But I'm also a person who keeps hoping, praying beyond reason, apparently, that the Spock-Laan relationship will go away. So so as much as I enjoyed the scene, I can't explain it any better than that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think we all a lot of people reacted very adversely to when that relationship got introduced, but it hasn't really kind of been a focus of the season. Like they're just kind of banging in the background and no one's really talking.
Well, that's just what it is. It's you can't define their relationship. It doesn't have boundaries. They just banging.
But it's approached that stage that like a lot of situationships do, where you're hooking up and it's fun times, but then people either need to progress or they don't.
Well, you've got the two coldest personalities together on the ship.
Two broken pieces.
I find the entire Spock-Laan thing just odd.
Thank you.
Just odd. It was strange enough for me when they did the whole Nurse Chapel Spock thing. I was like, well, wait a minute. But okay, I got on board, like fine. But can't we just leave Spock alone? He's still still married to Pring. Can we just let that happen? Just let that run its course,
Yeah. Yeah, it felt odd. Like, I feel the writers are a little obsessed with him. And I guess, maybe he's an interesting character to write for, but who knows?
Yeah,
Maybe.
and it even makes me think a little that, like, oh, we got to give Spock a relationship and all this status. Yet they seem to have conveniently forgotten about his fiance.
Yes. Yes.
Maybe this is why he turns into a bit of an eternal incel. He can't deal with all these women.
Oh my God. Wow. I can't take that back. That's out there.
All right.
Right, all right.
Sorry,
Moving right along. We're interrupted by an emergency transmission from the Vulcans. We cut to the briefing room. We find out that there is a race of being called the Tazarians, who the Vulcans met before the founding of the Federation, and there's a bit of a prime loophole approaching, as Pelia called it. So we find out the Vulcans rescued them from self-annihilation and gave them nuclear power to save themselves. And that nuclear power is now threatening to destroy the planet, and only the Vulcans are conveniently too far away. And since they are the only aliens they know, guess what? We all have to turn into Vulcans because they're smart enough to be able to scan and figure out whether they're Vulcan or not. Who wants to go first on this whole exposition-heavy, very convenient setup? Sam's got his hand up there. What do you got?
I made a discovery. Did you guys know that the Talarians first appeared in the Next Generation episode Maps and Legends?
No.
Oh wait, that's
No.
a Picard episode, isn't it?
I don't
Anyway, Suddenly Human, the one where there's the kid who's been raised by the warlike aliens. Those are the Talarians, so
Oh.
that's
Oh,
the same
yes, I remember
species.
them. Yes.
know. Oh.
So I just
Interesting.
Googled Talarian and I was like, oh, that sounds kind of familiar, but I don't remember anything in that episode about Vulcans. So it just seems very odd that a race like the Vulcans, who lectured Jonathan Archer at every, pre-warp civilization, would give anyone nuclear power.
Yeah, yes.
Maybe that's
Well,
why.
they were ruled for a while by Romulans, so
That's
I-
true.
I have read the rumors that, there was so many delays to this season because they wanted to de-woke it and keep the Trump administration happy. So nuclear power being the saving grace of a planet about to tear itself apart could be a part of that. But anyway, we won't go there. Jim, you had your hand up. You wanted to jump on that too.
yeah. I thought of it from a different perspective. Like, yeah, great idea. Even kind of funny scene turning them into turning the four could have been 5 crew members into Vulcans. But why couldn't they just send Spock down alone, since he already is a Vulcan, and they communicate over communicator with him if he runs into any problems.
Yeah, I mean, it was all a bit of a wacky setup, right? Like, they lent into a lot of Star Trek cliches. Oh, the Vulcans are too far away. No one else is around except single nacelle Farragut, which is just spinning around somewhere. But we'll get to that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it gave Carol Kane a great opportunity to stretch her comedic chops, and I loved that part. But still, it didn't make much sense to me, that scene.
Yeah. I'll go Galaxy class, Steve. What do you think?
I mean, so the whole bit about Spock's like half Vulcan, and they were really clear about that, and da 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 da. So I don't know. Like it just felt like an unnecessary poke fun at Spock moment.
Kind
know,
of
like-
bordered into bullying, even.
Like I'd say it did enter into bullying, and the fact that we delved into this so deeply in Discovery. This was such a huge part of Discovery's story. I'm like, let Spock be. My God, let the man alone. Let him have his terrible marriage, ignore his wife for years, and just let him alone.
Yeah, like a normal person does.
Exactly, like a normal gay. Marry the woman because you have to, and then ignore her.
Oh my goodness, it's gonna be that kind of conversation.
Oh, we are going to get so much hate mail for this.
Let us know if you want our handles in the chat. Okay. Melbourne Steve, what about the whole scene where they take the Kerkovian serum and they start scrambling all over the floor and their hairstyles change?
It's kind of funny, actually, and kind of silly in a way. But I did like it how, what's her face? The older woman's name again. What's her name again?
Talia?
Yeah, that's it, Palia. What am I forget? She's like, "Oh, what about me? I didn't change."
I know that's that's why I was
so
talking about Carol Kane
disappointed.
getting her comedic chops.
Yeah, it was
But
funny.
she again was the one that stole the show. They did all the acting, but she's the one that did the one-liner and she stole the show.
She's good at that. She has saved a few scenes in this season with a very well-timed comedic one-liner. Because in this
Oh.
scene, she had the whole thing like, oh, it's just the same. I never didn't have any reaction to LSD in the 60s or the 90s or last July.
Or last July.
Last year.
But yeah, I love that. Like how the camera focuses on her and her poop reaction, and you can hear everyone else screaming off camera in pain.
No, she is
Supposed to focus
definitely
on them,
a
but you're
scene
focused on
saver.
Talia.
She is a scene saver. She's definitely a scene saver. And then, with their new hairstyles and their very cool Vulcan outfits, Reckless Youth by whatever band that was, that starts playing. They beam down to the planet and they fix the problem in seconds. Like, at this point, I'm like, am I watching Lower Decks or Strange New Worlds? Like, what is going on? And that feeling continued throughout the episode. But there was something here that I know, it's not something, I don't know if I've got sort of the experience to comment on, but I know a lot of people felt upset about the jokes being made at Spock's expense here were because he is biracial. And I know I've seen a lot of people on the internet, friends I know who are biracial, get very upset about that. And I had to agree. I was just like, that's why in the 23rd century, like why even Vulcans, such an enlightened people, be so prejudiced like that? But have we learned that the Vulcans, even though they're so logical, enlightened, they do kind of have these prejudices about them, but do we need
Yeah,
to?
I was going to say, they're not as advanced as they make themselves out to be.
Yeah, these earlier Vulcans certainly don't have that same enlightenment.
No,
I don't know if anyone wants to make a comment on that at all. It is a pretty hard subject to talk about.
look, I agree with your sentiment and a lot of other people's sentiment that it can come across as offensive. I totally see that. I think one of the things that kind of it humanizes is the wrong word, but it's the only word I can come up with. But it kind of shows the issues that Vulcans really do have, that they do come across, or they want to make themselves come across as perfect, these enlightened, these people who they want to show the enlightened way of the right way. But they are really, the episodes like this really shows that Vulcans just have not come a long way. They have a lot of prejudices. And Spock deals with this with a lot of his lifetime.
Yeah. And he does sort of touch on that as well. But then I think to then make it a joke was probably what was so hard for people to take in.
So
No,
this is, I think this might be an example of, I mean, we can't know this without actually talking to writers, but I've seen throughout Trek instances where the writers find something to latch onto. Oh, this will be funny. This will be fill in the emotion, and don't think about the larger context and what it could be perceived as, who it might represent. I think that in many ways, Star Trek does a good job with that and is intentional with that. But in moments like this, I think it was meant to be comedic relief. I can't know that. I'm not a writer. I wasn't in the writer's room. I'm hopeful that that's the case, that they were hoping this to be funny and didn't think about the fact that Spock is biracial, and someone who's biracial, you would very rightly so be offended by this. So I think it was just like a swing and a miss moment. Again, I can't know that. I'm hopeful that's what it was, especially this late into the Trek franchise. I'm hoping that's what it was.
Yeah. It'll certainly go down as a bit of a swing and a miss, and I think that's where the sort of like the code of honor references and all that kind of stuff come into it as well. But anyway, they return from the mission that was over in seconds. Pelia says they're making me look bad, which was very funny. And they give them the serum, and Nothing happens. Dun dun dun.
Done. Yeah.
And then
Like very anticlimactic.
yeah. And then the one something that was going to grate my ears for the rest of the episode happened. Pike did his opening monologue in his Vulcan voice and skip intro.
I didn't even pick up on that.
Oh my goodness. I think MC said to me, like, how could the worst thing about this episode be Anson Mount's acting? Like, when there are so many other bad things going on.
I thought it was his hair.
I mean, that was...
Oh, God.
His hair has become, like, I don't know if they ever meant for his hair to be a joke, but it's become one.
We could do an entire separate episode just on the hair jabs in this episode alone.
Oh dear, it's so rigid and robot-like, and just his interpretation of a Vulcan. Oh my god, Anson, way off, way off. I love him, but way off. Anyway, we come back after that, and Umberto happens to be on board. Cool, and he has his little meeting with Uhura. He apologized for not getting back to the Enterprise sooner. So Uhura says that she'll take care of it for him. She gives this very Vulcan, like, why are you leaving me on red kind of talk? Like, you were supposed to be here, but you never made time kind of thing. And he says he will do whatever it takes to fix their problems, and she drags him away. What could it mean? This is our first introduction to Uhura's Vulcan interpretation. What did we think of that? Heads in hands. I'm going to pick on someone. Sam.
Very Romulan. All of these people aren't acting Vulcan, they're acting Romulan, which makes sense because they don't know how to control the emotions, but like, it's like somebody watched the worst Vulcan episodes of every Star Trek series and just took the worst parts and said, let's lampoon this.
I did skip over a part there as well where Una's log explains that the serum was derived from Spock's experiences, which means they turned into more like a type of Vulcan, or a type of Vulcan enlightenment that takes other Vulcans years to achieve, and that's why they were so rigid. I don't know.
That's interesting, I think, because my take on, I missed that when I watched it, because my take on this episode was the reason they're having these moments and within each character that are kind of not Vulcan was because they've not gone through enlightenment, right? They've not done the work to get to that place that other Vulcans have. So if that's actually in the script, then that's how they're supposedly already there. That's striking to me.
It was blink and you miss it. So it was like Una's log when they came back from the theme song basically says that very, very quickly. And that's how they all wound up that way. We go to the transporter room next, and guess who's here? Why the hell are you always on my ship?
I thought that exact thought when he beamed in.
I know. I literally went, oh, for fuck's sake. Don't be wrong.
I think that they came up with a decent explanation. He came to visit his brother, and his brother had already left the ship. I did like that, at least.
Yeah. Remember how the Enterprise was the only ship close enough to help the Tazarians? But they only have one nacelle. But I don't know. He was almost a saving grace, like, because I find Paul Wesley actually very, very watchable as Kirk. Like, very watchable, and him and Scotty were two of the best parts of their dynamic together was something I really, really enjoyed in this episode. What did you think, Melbourne Steve?
I love Paul Wesley as Kirk. He's really transformed these last these few seasons. He's become a really, really likable guy, and kind of like Pelio in many ways, a saving grace. Walks in the right time. His character, I remember, was it the season 2? People were really criticizing his character, saying, no, he's not Kirk, he's terrible. I think he's really done the character absolute justice.
He's growing into it, I think.
Yes.
It's it's one of the like most iconic characters in television history. It's a lot to take on and to find, don't you think?
Yeah, I think he's doing a great job. There's a long way to go, no doubt about it, but I think he's doing a great job.
Yeah. Jim, are you a Paul Wesley fan?
I'm a fan of Paul Wesley as Captain Kirk.
Okay, jeez.
I haven't
You
seen
bitch.
Vampire Diaries, so I can't say it. So I can't say about being a Paul Wesley fan.
Fair enough. Galaxy Class Stephen, what about you?
So I think he's doing a great job, and I also I guess I'm going to offer something and opposite to what I'm hearing is that I actually appreciate that he's not already the iconic Kirk, right? We're seeing how the young Lieutenant Kirk becomes Captain Kirk, right? We're actually watching the journey versus watching the formed character from TOS. So I appreciate that, he has these moments of, he's not confident or he loses his confidence or he isn't exactly like, ooh, that's not Kirk. Well, yeah, because the Kirk we know and love, he isn't him yet. So I'm excited to see him become the Kirk that we know. I threw in and love. I know not everyone loves Kirk, but the Kirk that we know well.
Yeah. No, you've got a good point there. And he's younger, like Spock is. He does not have the responsibility of the command of the flagship, so he can show up to see his brother and go and grab a beer with Scotty, and he would have the advantage of a little bit more downtime and all that kind of stuff, I guess. That takes us. That's a good segue there to the next scene where, we do see Chapel blowing up some chemicals. She's got other experiments going on. She's doing 6 at a time. She doesn't need rest. But then we jump to Kirk
Mad Scientist Vulcan Chapel was I've heard described as the most realistic portrayal of the Vulcans.
She was a bit of a mad scientist. But then, we jump to drinks with Kirk, Scotty, and La'an because obviously Kirk has a little bit of a thing for La'an and wants to go for a drink with her. Scotty tries to warn him, and they're sitting around, and she's immediately talking like some sort of Vulcan space conqueror. Speaking of destroying and claiming unclaimed space, it's immediate. She's not a typical Vulcan. And she orders Scotty to see some sort of confidential info on his pad that he just has lying around in the whatever this 10 forward thing is, which I don't know if they've given it a name. I think is it just the bar? Have they named this? It's just the bar.
I swear I heard someone call it the Aft Lounge.
Yeah, I heard lounge. Yeah.
Aft lounge is what I've heard the most.
The aft lounge. Oh, because I guess that kind of makes sense. Yeah, since it was 10 forward, let's just put it at the back of the ship instead. So this was. Did anyone else? Was it immediate to anyone else here that she was more Romulan than Vulcan?
Yes.
Right away.
Absolutely.
Demanding to see the confidential information. There's a lot to be said for Scotty just having that confidential information hanging around.
Right. Why carry that on your person
Exactly.
to the bar?
Sure, but he's like, well, I guess
do.
Yeah, but then other bits of it don't make sense either because he's like, oh, well, I guess you're my superior officer. And as the security chief, why would he not want to show her information about the ship's weapons and all that kind of stuff? Surely that's stuff she's already privy to. It was all a bit odd. What did you think of Romulan evolution for La'an, Sam?
While we've been talking here, I've been thinking, and it I don't know if this was the writer's intention, but it almost seems like each Vulcan character is a representation of where the Vulcans have been and where they're going. Because you have La'an, who is the savage under the Raptor Talon Vulcans pre-Enlightenment. Then you have Pike, who is the Enterprise era, very snooty, up their own butt Vulcan. You have Chapel, who is the perfectly kind of inner element Vulcan Zen, and then you have Spock, who is the future, who is unification and trying to merge. But I feel like La'an's Romulan streak was just a little too. I feel like all of the performances were just a little too much. Feels like they were pouring everything into these characters and not giving things room to breathe.
Yeah, they overacted the shit out of it. With the possible exception, I thought Uhura's was slightly more restrained. I actually kind of liked hers a little bit. She had some funny little witty bits, and some of it was done to good comedic timing. Like, I really laughed when Pike was vacuuming and Patel's like, I already cleaned. He goes, yes, and now I'm doing it properly. And I'm like, oh my God, that's my life. That's what my partner says to me every time, because I'll clean something and then he'll immediately clean over whatever I cleaned because he feels I don't clean good enough. I don't know. That made me laugh. So she takes the pad, she disappears, and then Pike shouts. We get shouty Pike again over the intercom. Number 1, report to get the senior staff immediately.
That was clear overacting.
It was all clear overacting. They come to the senior staff. All the senior staff come to the ready room where he's removed all the chairs because they're inefficient, and he's become very shouty, and the Vulcans have decided that they choose to remain Vulcan. Dun, dun, dun. Una and Pike
Like we couldn't have predicted that coming from 10 miles away.
Yeah. And then Una and Pike speak one-on-one about the changes to the crew rotations, and all I've written here is, why would the chair be so heavy?
Well, you don't have written the
She
ship
did
should have been-
struggle.
She was like, it's like she was moving like a stack of bricks. I'm like, that doesn't seem practical at all.
Davey, I'm surprised
Maybe-
you don't have written why was it 42 minutes per shift instead of 47 minutes?
I rewound it, right, because I wrote 42 minutes in my notes, and I'm like, no, surely it would be 47. Like, that would be the joke. But no, it was 42. Did anyone else understand what the efficiency of that would be? Because it went over my head.
I'm sure it breaks down into whatever the standard number of hours are in a day at that point, or I'm sure there's some sort of, someone was like, oh well, we're operating on a this many hours a day schedule, so divide that by blah 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 42.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm guessing.
Yeah, it all seemed, but there was maybe a little sloppy in terms of some of the writing, but sure. You know what I was thinking of in this scene was buffer time from Lower
Yes.
Decks.
I was just thinking, yeah, exactly. Buffer time.
Yeah. And when Pelia gets woken up in the quarters later, they're just having that chat in her quarters, and she's just in bed behind them. She's like, "Oh, these 42-minute shifts are killing me." Again, that was
like the sleigh bed. Like,
I was like, "Am I watching Lower Decks? What is going on?" That's funny. Speaking of her quarters, so we go to her psychedelic 60s quarters, which she has shielded from the rest of the ship, by the way.
And
Right.
they were just okay with that.
like this is normal.
Like, I don't know, like, did anyone else think, like, why would this be allowed? Like, Sam, did that seem weird to you at all, or am I making it seem weird in context?
No, it was definitely weird.
It was
100%. Everything in this episode could be put under, that was definitely weird.
Yeah, it's sort of like, I mean, it was funny, but anyway, they're all speaking, having a private chat about how they should address the situation. How could they speak to them they needed to speak to them without the Vulcan filter, because for a Vulcan, it would be logical to remain Vulcan. So why would they want to go back? I did like the line, "It is true Vulcans can be jerks." And then Mbenga starts on with Carters, which could be, if they experiment with this in the wrong way, could be a catastrophic oopsie. And they decide that they need other measures of persuasion first. I thought talking about Carters here was interesting, given that when Kartra comes up in Star Trek 3, it's this whole brand new thing. But I think Strange New Worlds plays pretty fast and loose with canon.
Yeah.
So there's that, and then from there we moved to, now here's the scene. I want to know what everyone thought of this scene. Pike and La'an doing their "I'm not permitted to speak of it," or whatever it was. Galaxy class Stephen.
I see you writers. I see you trying to have fun. I appreciate what you're trying to do, but really,
It made me
it,
laugh.
it made me laugh. Sure, it's very tongue in cheek. I enjoyed it in the moment, and there was so much I feel like they tried to do this episode, and I guess maybe that would have been one of the things that would have worked well had it not had all these other things that didn't work as well accompanying it.
Yeah.
My 2 cents.
I mean, Melbourne Steve, you really enjoyed the episode to end to end, right? So was this all just part of the comedy for you?
Well, see, my favorite Star Trek episodes are like the away missions.
Oh yeah.
I love it when they can literally put the proverbial hair down and show a different side of them it's not the regimented uniform working at the station side. We get to see something different. While I agree, there's lots of silliness in this episode. I got to be really honest. It was good to see a different side of them in a way. What would a Vulcan, the serum, what extremes would it bring out in their personalities and things like that. It was good to see that way.
Yeah, it was. I just wish it was acted better.
No, I agree. I agree with that.
I did think this scene was funny. Like it was funny. Like like Stephen, it's somewhat unnecessary. I agree, but like it's just I'm not permitted to discuss time travel. Perhaps we should say it at the same time. Romulans.
Yeah, we need like a follow-up scene of those two back as humans again, discussing like, did we just say what we thought we said to each other? We will never speak of this again, and make sure there is no record of it.
I know. I'm jumping around a lot here as well. This was a hard episode to take notes on because it was so fast, like a Lower Decks episode, and it kept changing and changing. So I'm blending some of the story elements into one kind of conversation because otherwise stepping through all these basically a series of mini sketches is a little hard to keep track of. Ortegas joins Berto and Uhura for lunch. Berto is acting very odd, wants vegan soup and not the 10 cheeseburgers or whatever it is that he's able to eat in 5 minutes. And we eventually find out that Uhura did a mind meld with him to make him more compliant like a lapdog, although she just says a lapdog would be more compliant. Sam, what did you think of the Uhura Berto Ortegas plot and how that played out and what that kind of showed for like Uhura and Ortegas's friendship?
I think my favorite part of the season has been the relationship between Uhura and Ortegas' brother. It's kind of nice to have a civilian perspective in Star Trek. I don't feel like we've had that in a while.
Mm-hmm.
But I hated what she did to him. It felt real familiar. So it definitely was not at all my favorite part of the episode in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. I don't know. Jim, what did you think? I felt like the Uhura plot was a little undercooked. What did you think?
Well, first off, I kind of thought so too. Like they didn't pay as much attention to Uhura as they did the other ones. But I also thought with the Uhura and Umberto thing, like, sure, he probably went into it with a very consensual choice, but at the same time, he probably wasn't given all the necessary information. So it was kind of a violation in that regards too.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. It's a violation, full stop, right? Like, I mean, Ortegas she's pissed and she has a right to be pissed. Like, she's like, that's not who he is. That's not what you like about us. And I like how she sort of says, like, she says, like, Ortegas in an accent for the first time ever as well, by the way. That I don't know why that stuck out to me, but that cracked me up. Stephen, Galaxy Class Stephen, what do you think?
I appreciated, like, this is the first time I believe that we actually see Ortegas' quarters. And I think that gave me a lot of insight into her as a character. And I think, the fact that she spoke so strongly for and of her relationship with her brother, who they are as people, why, that's why you like us, right? and calling out Uhura in a way that, like we've seen their friendship progress over time, and being able to call her out in a way that only a really good friend, a true friend, really could. I thought there was some beauty in that, even though it was like maybe a difficult thing to watch. There's some beauty in that connection that they have as friends, and and yeah, the fact that she mind melded with the brother and kind of made him into this. I don't even know what to call it. It was uncomfortable. It's like, wait, what did she do? I assumed at the start that she wouldn't be able to do a mind meld. Again, I missed that piece about how they're already advanced enough to da-da-da. But yeah, like, God, why would you want to do that to your partner? No, I need you to be more compliant. Like, sure, you want to win the argument, but you don't, like, change how they think to do it. Like, oh, that was cringy.
I guess when you talk about it like that, there is a bit of there's actually kind of like a semi-serious message underneath that. Like,
Yes.
the amount of times, like, because my partner and I, like, we could sometimes not be more different in how we think about things and how we approach. We have very different upbringings, all that kind of stuff. And we have conversations where I'm like, but why don't you see it this way? Like, why are you doing it that way? Why would you do it that way? Why would you react that way? Like, and that's just who they are, and you learn to love them for who they are. And it's sort of like, how boring would that be if you just made them compliant and they just did everything you said? I mean, every now and then it would be nice, but
When you're cooking dinner. No.
exactly.
Do it my way. This is the right way.
Yeah. What about you? What about you, Melbourne? Steve, you're a partnered man as well. Have you ever wanted to mind meld with him and just make him think the same way as you?
Maybe in a heated exchange, yes. Like a win an argument. I think for me, this is a bit of a misstep in the writing. I think when we talk about violations, this is a real violation of someone. And it reminds me of like that episode of TNG, The Child. Let's violate Deanna Troy and let's go along with that. I think it sends the wrong message there that, this is not saying you just laugh off and just, no, I felt a bit uncomfortable about that.
Yeah, I think we were meant to, or I don't know. Again, it was a very serious thing that got treated as a wee little bit of a joke, but yeah, it was an interesting one for sure. Like, this whole episode was an interesting one, and then we've got like the other characters doing all their weird stuff. So we've got Chapel as well. Her plot, she breaks up with Corby, and whilst Spock walks in, he's like, "I'm breaking up with you," and he's like, "You already did that." And it's like, no, I'm breaking up with you as a friend. She talks about the amount of time that she spent socializing last week, which is very inefficient. I wrote in my notes, she is 7 of 9 now. Who was it? Someone said that they thought that Mad Scientist Chapel was one of the best parts of the episode. Was that you, Jim?
Jim.
Jim. Why did you
I
like
don't
Mad
recall saying
Scientist
she was
Chapel
one of the best parts of the episode. I think I said she was one of the more realistic depictions of a Vulcan.
Okay, yeah. I thought it was more Borg-like to not want to cut down on your social, because Vulcans are actually kind of social.
Well, that kind of struck me as also being, they may be technically biologically full Vulcan, but they're still, but at the core, as we will discuss probably a little bit later, they're still human, so they're doing full Vulcan based on what a human would perceive it to be.
Yeah, possibly. I also thought that at some point, maybe each one of them was meant to represent a different facet of what we know about Vulcans. Like, one, we've got the efficiency kind of thing. We've got, Pike kind of talks about a lot of the prejudice towards humans with how they smell and having to clean up after Batel and speaking on her behalf when the Admiral shows up and all that kind of stuff. And then La'an is the ancient Romulan warlord cousins.
Yeah. And I don't think we even really need to go into Patel just going to town on the Admiral and Pike at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
I appreciated Sam's take on the possibility, the observation of each Vulcan representing a different phase of Vulcan growth over Trek. I like that. I think that's really perceptive and does kind of help categorize them in their different caricatures.
Yeah, it's I wish I knew if that was intentional or not. I think one of you said before, like, I wish we could understand what the writers were thinking. Yeah. And we all know, we've all delved enough into stories of scripts in the past and how an idea can radically change from draft into what winds up on screen.
Hold on, I'll text Tawny.
So all of the persuasion is not working. So Una says that she has an ex nearby who's there within minutes, who happens to be a Katra expert. Enter Doug.
And someone she can't control herself around, apparently.
Enter Doug. Sam, what did we think of Doug?
Oh, man. I love Patton
Doug.
Oswalt.
The actor was great. The actor was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you compare, because one of my favorite shows of all time is Caprica. I don't know if anyone remembers Caprica.
I remember Caprica.
I remember it.
Yeah.
But he played a sort of Johnny Carson talk show host in that. And he was very much just kind of like a cameo. Like he would pop up occasionally in an episode. And I feel like this had similar vibes, but on a much lower note. It just felt like he asked someone to be in an episode and they kind of shoehorned him in.
Yeah, he asked because I think he is a fan of Star Trek, a genuine fan.
Yeah, he's a huge fan from what I've seen. So like it felt kind of wasted. And like when I saw him in the trailers, I got very excited because I love when he shows up in sci-fi stuff. But I feel like the moments he was on screen, he was very lovable. I want him to come back because Doug, out of everyone in this episode, is probably my favorite Vulcan now.
What was his sister's name? Was Susan, and she was a vet.
It was his sister Susan and his cousin Pete.
Yes, that's right. I mean, all of that in itself was kind of funny, but then we have Una just like lusting after him in a way that felt very out of character.
Yeah, I got a comment on that. Like,
go Jim.
I bought the in-story plot line and everything. What I did not buy was the chemistry between Rebecca Romijn and Patton Oswalt. That felt really, really forced to me.
I did, and it's not because of anything like physicality and all that. Like,
No.
I could totally get a woman of like Una being into a man because he is creative and and being attracted to his intellect and all that kind of stuff.
Mathematics,
totally.
pottery.
I buy that too, but I just did not buy like the instantaneous in the moment chemistry between the two actors.
I mean, not the throw her in a cold shower immediately as soon as he walks into the room kind of energy that we got. And then the whole bit with Spock having to pretend to be the husband, I was like, oh, this is so contrived and like derivative.
Cringy would be a better word.
Yes. I was like, oh, we're not going to do the pretend to be married scene, are we?
And then the part where she literally can't leave the room because she keeps looking back. That was even worse.
Yeah. I mean, there's funny moments in this whole scene, but like the scene all in itself is a bit odd. Like I loved the such and such choir sang at the wedding. He said the entire 700-seat choir. And they named their daughter Doug, but Doug was a nickname. So her name was like actually Lisa or something like that. It's like, I hope to meet Doug/Lisa.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You know, I want to say, I enjoyed the episode. So it took me a couple of days to watch it, and I saw a lot of like, oh, this is the worst episode. So, yeah, Strange New Worlds, and I was like, whatever. I take all that with a grain of salt. Then I watched it. I loved it. I really enjoyed the episode. I actually especially enjoyed this scene because it felt like this is the scene that needed to be over the top. You've got two Vulcans and Una, right? Una, who hasn't shown any sort of romantic kind of anything on this level, and suddenly she's like, all hot and bothered, and I loved it. I loved every second of it. Like I have felt that way about someone where I'm like, oh my god, I can't control myself around you. Like this is insane. Like and to see this coupling have that, I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. It was so much fun.
Melbourne Steve, what did you think?
I have to agree with that sentiment. I absolutely love the chemistry between these two. I loved seeing a different side of Una, that she was, again, let's talk about the role the other role of Spock, which is the cock block. He- No, they love throwing him in there all the time to like, oh, that's his other role all the time.
Oh my goodness.
No, it was really good. And I think it was the ultimate saving grace of this whole episode, just seeing these two banter. And I won't give it away at the end, but I have my favorite part at the end.
You just killed Jim, by the way, with cockblock Spock. Look at him, he's dying.
Truly, that's what he's that's his other role being in past episodes. He's the scapegoat. Throw him in there.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Do you agree, Sam? Is Spock a cockblock?
100%. He always has been.
Oh, you have to bring that up again.
I do love that at the end as well, to get her to go away. He just picks the drink up and goes, "Oops."
Oh, it's a very like Lucy Desi moment.
Yeah, it's just, sorry. Oh dear, honey.
Oops.
So we go to Pike's quarters next, where the Admiral has arrived. Patel's old boss in a disco uniform. I noted, by the way, he was wearing a Discovery era.
Which goes to the theory that Starfleet doesn't have one uniform for the entire fleet. Different divisions can wear whatever uniform they probably decide to wear among probably choices.
Yeah, feels that way. I mean, and we did see in TOS, we would see different insignias and stuff like that as well. But so he's made them. Pike has made a leek sorbet. Ugh. I think that's what he said it was. And he talks about the diabolical nature of salt and how if the food doesn't taste that way, then it shouldn't be necessary. They start discussing Patel's return to the judicial apartment, and the Pike and the Admiral become raging Vulcan misogynists, I wrote here, speaking about Patel in the third person and having all those like, oh, but she needs her treatments, and that means you'd be missing all these sabotaging her straight away. And she obviously loses it. I love how she says, here you are sucking up to him, but you used to refer to him as the human with inappropriate hair. And tells Pike that his sorbet sucks. And she kicks
I do remember in the scene going, "Go, Marie, go."
I liked it. I don't know. I liked that she sort of like, all right, hang on, no. Don't just talk about me and my future and whether I, can keep up with the demands of the job because I require medical treatment and all that kind of stuff. Like, she's like, no, you can shut the fuck up. Basically. Sam, what did you think of Patel taking her power back?
I loved it. I have loved Patel this season. If the entire season had just been about her and her Gorn affliction, I would have loved it. And I love that she stood up to Admiral Pointy Ears. So,
I forgot to write his name down, so Admiral Pointy Ears will have to do. What about you, Melbourne Steve?
Oh, so I totally just went out I was communicating with my husband, sorry.
Talking about the Patel scene where she tells them off.
I actually did like that part of the episode because she was really giving him a grilling down. That terrible impression of Spock of the Vulcans really needed to explain, and she really ultimately gave it to him.
Yeah, agree. Jim?
I got nothing. I got nothing else on that scene. I loved her. I loved her going off on Pasulk and Pike, and that was other than that, I got nothing else.
And what about you, GC Steve? GC Steve. That
GC
saves me a lot of
GC
syllables.
It was fun. I appreciated Patel's like physicality when Pike starts like, you know, essentially going against her and no, we have to think about this, we have to think about that. And I'd kind of hoped she'd hit a boiling point and just kind of explode. And I was so happy when she did. It was so appropriate. It was so well done. You know, it had the feelings that one might have in the situation. Well, without, you know, being horribly offensive herself. She was just like honest and direct. And here's what's happened. Here's what you say. Here's what you say. I'm done, you know, holding my space, you know,
Yeah.
and yeah, very fun scene.
I agree. We've got Kirk and Scotty are watching La'an become a warlord again. She wants to reach out to the Klingons, convince them the Orions are going to invade, and then involve the Folians and the Gorn at the same time. Kirk tries to stop her and she attacks, and Scotty tricks her into pressing a button that just electrocutes her, which was...
Yeah, doesn't she know? Never press the button.
I know. It was very slapstick and very silly, but I don't know. This was still like, oh, I could have done with more of this Kirk and Scotty dynamic throughout the episode.
Yeah, I loved the fact we literally saw the beginning dynamics of that relationship in this episode.
Yeah, exactly. Because we kind of got a little bit of it in the Sellout that ate its tail, and then it was a nice evolution, don't you think? It was kind of good to sort of see it, to kind of see it continue. But then I'll go, Stephen.
I was going to say at this last Star Trek Las Vegas convention, we get to talk a little bit with Martin Quinn, right? The actor who plays Scotty. And I don't know, a few months ago, when he first, a few months ago, wasn't that long ago, when he first kind of showed up, I started following him on Instagram, and he is Scotty. Like, he is this funny, quirky, tongue-in-cheek, like he is a funny character. So I think the writers are just having a field day with who this man is. And I appreciate seeing it very much in this episode, right? Where he's accidentally successful in neutralizing La'an, right? Like, yeah, I guess I'll do this now. Oh, look at that, it works great. Yeah, you know. So yeah, I think that seeing this sort of young, whimsical Scotty who's just kind of like, he's smart, right? He's bright, he's educated, and he's young. And there's a lot of whimsy and fun in there, and I think we see it especially in this scene, especially and then also like was mentioned, tying into his relationship growing with Kirk.
Sam, are you a fan of the Kirk and Scotty relationship and how that's growing?
I'm a fan of probably every single actor who is playing a TOS character. I think they are doing one hell of a job, but he is making me want a spinoff after Strange New World ends that is just a remake of TOS with these characters and just the whimsy and the fun, because he is so amazing. He's the best Scotty since James Doohan.
I'm down with that. Then something happens interestingly here. A whole bunch of stuff happens off camera because we skip to the next scene and it's Una giving a log saying that it's all been fixed. Doug agreed to fix everyone's Katras and it's done.
Yeah, well, they realized they were getting to the end of the episode.
Which is actually, if you watch, like, especially TNG, that happened a lot in TNG as well. Like, there'd be this,
Absolutely.
They would build the stakes so high, and then all of a sudden, the problem would all get solved off camera, and they'd all be sitting in sickbay going, oh, jeez, what did I drink last night? Like, I wrote that, like, the whole scene where they're standing in the sickbay was like a hangover. They all had a hangover, and they're all like, oh my God, what did I do? Blah, blah, blah. Chapel needs to sleep because she hasn't slept in days. And then, but we do find out that La'an has not returned. She's holding out. I wonder what we all thought of the reason. What was the reason why she behaved that way? Was because she had Noonien Singh DNA, because of her augment. I mean, she herself is not an augment, but she is the product of augments. Which, knowing so much about Khan in this space has always kind of bothered me, but I don't know. I'll start with you, Sam. What did you think of that?
I find the whole I come from augments thing kind of weird because the augment crisis kind of predates World War III, which on its own was like 200 years ago at this point. So I feel like 200 years of genetic drift would just wipe out any sort of augment DNA. But I mean, at the same time, who knows with Trek? So I find it a very kind of shoehorned in reason why she wouldn't want to come back.
Yeah. I mean, they just wanted to bring it up, I think. But GC, Steve, what about you?
So, I'll see your shoehorned augment, Sam, and raise you a shoehorned Noonien Singh. I feel like her entire existence as a descendant of Khan Noonien Singh just, it's like with Dr. Soong, right? With the data stuff, like it just keeps coming back, and there were lots of pieces that were really cool and interesting. And we're okay. We get it. Like, this was a fascinating thing. Someone somewhere in the writer's room, producer, someone is like, oh, this is important to me. Do more of this, right? Because it doesn't fit. It is shoehorned. It doesn't flow with a series that seems to, from my perspective, flow very well, right? This is a fantastic Star Trek series. They do so many wonderful things, but the whole Noonien Singh thing just never has seemed to fit to me. And so you throw in the augment bit, I'm like, I'm lost. Cool. Here's my moment of suspended disbelief. Thank you, Star Trek, for new episodes, and move on.
Yeah, it's there seems to be this need when you write a new Star Trek show that you have to include something that links to like the older established canon in a fairly heavy-handed kind of way. We got it with Michael Burnham having to be Spock's sister and all this kind of stuff. But then I think back to, because I listen to like the Delta Flyers a lot, and they're covering Deep Space Nine at the moment, and Armin Shimmerman always talks about just how important it was for them that after sort of like the first and second season, when Berman kind of trailed off and focused more on Voyager, that they stopped getting all these heavy-handed links back to TNG, and they just were allowed to like thrive and flourish as their own show with their own characters, and all those links sort of started to like fade away. And Deep Space Nine is remembered so fondly as this strong, independent show that did it its own way. It's like, oh, okay. I mean, it's great that we've got the TOS characters, but her as Khan's descendant, it's always just sort of been like, why?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Melbourne Steve, what do you make of that?
I have a different thought.
Go on.
We get this situation in many of our characters. I think one of our most well-known ones is Julian Bashir. Now, he's his own doctor. He's his own self. However, he is constantly haunted by what happened to him that was completely out of control and how he's born. I think Lan faces this same situation, though it's not explained away very well in the series. That I think she has faced many situations in her life where people have rejected her, people have ostracized her. And maybe that's kind of given her character, that she has that kind of stone face, standoffish, on guard personality that we see in Lan. I think this situation with her predecessors has had effect on her character, though I don't think it's explained away very well. But I did like it how when she was playing the Vulcan character, how it really brought that out, that sort of calm Noonien Singh, sort of ultra, warlord persona. But I do get what everyone's saying, that it is kind of like, oh yeah, we got to bring that one up again. But I think it's about her character in the extremes that hasn't been spoken about.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. Like, I do get, like, I understand the link and why you would write it that way. I guess I'm thinking more just probably going beyond this episode and just the inclusion of that element of the character in the first place. But anyway,
I think also, like, hasn't La'an been through enough? So she's a descendant of Khan, and the whole Gorn thing, like, this poor woman.
La'an must
Can we give
suffer.
her a
PTSD
break?
Central.
Yeah,
Can we just give her a break?
exactly. There was a nice thing about her relationship with Spock, though, when Chapel said, sometimes I think that's a better match. Sometimes two broken pieces fit together the best. Chapel said in that, and so you do get that nice thing where the fight turns into the dance. And although I thought that the filming of that looked terrible, because I was very aware that they were on a set, but I think it was because it was meant to be a dream. You could kind of suspend disbelief. But anyway, we get a very.
I got a thought, Davey.
I'll go, Jim.
Yeah, I'll see all of your opinions and raise you. The producers or writers or whichever combination have become just so attached to. Oh, these two can dance. Let's add a dancing scene.
She is a fabulous dance instructor.
Indeed.
Yeah, we have to get a dancing scene in.
Oh, dear. All right, we've got to wrap this one up because we've got to move on to Terrarium, which will be an easier one to cover because it doesn't jump around as much. But basically, I've written here, Spock and La'an make out, Uhura and Birdo make up, which in a very cute scene. Batel gets promoted to the top job.
That scene I liked. Like, she gets a promotion basically because she tells off her boss.
Yeah. And I love how Pike's like, am I slightly forgiven now? That was cute.
Although his surprise reaction shot was thankfully the last of his overacting.
Yeah. Chapel makes terrible plomeek soup and what I wrote in her cozy studio apartment quarters.
Did we really need to bring Corby on for that scene?
Like everyone else is in these like big beautiful apartment, like full like quarters, yet she seems to be in like the New York tenement apartment. Like it's just this tiny little
I know, but
space.
like, did they really need to have Corby physically come on set? They couldn't have done a video shot.
It's a very small galaxy. La'an apologizes to Una. Una's like, nah, I'm going on a date with Doug. Love it. But she does mention the reason why things were getting so weird is because Spock left clean socks in a drawer in her apartment. She's like, dirty socks? No, worse. Clean ones. Are we draw people now? What is Love that. We've all been there. And Una goes for drinks with Doug. And then we also get the quirky post-credit scene, which a lot of people missed.
Loved it.
A lot of people missed.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I think I might have been one of those people. What was the post-credit scene?
Yeah, I am too.
You haven't seen the post-credit scene?
No.
Oh, maybe we shouldn't talk about it then, because you need to go and watch it.
Yeah, go watch it. Absolutely. Let's not talk about it. Go see it. Go enjoy it for yourselves.
Yeah.
Darn.
We'll
Can I throw one in there?
go for it.
Let's talk about Una's black dress.
Oh, I love it. I love the way she was holding that cocktail and everything in that scene. She was like, "Yep, Doug, come and get it."
That was
And
the
then they
best.
walk
I
off,
think
presumably to her
that was
quarters.
the best they have made Rebecca Romaine look to date in her entire Star Trek career so far.
It is interesting to me. Like, she's a beautiful woman, and in Star Trek, she's not unattractive, but she's very handsome as number one, right?
They make her
Absolutely.
very official, very senior officer, because even in the first season, she was like, "Oh, everyone thinks you're scary." She's like, "No, I'm fun. I can be fun." When she does the whole Enterprise bingo thing. But anyway, there we have it. 4.5 Vulcans. Wow. That went for a lot longer than I thought it would, but I guess there's a lot to discuss there.
There's a lot of opinions.
There was a lot of opinions.
Yeah, and I will admit about 4.5 Vulcans, the whole racism thing that a lot of people are hung up over on this episode, like, it went over my head until like a couple of days later.
I think it's one of those things that can go over your head if it's not your lived experience. I think one of the things
Agreed.
just to loop back to that quickly, when it really dawned on me was I saw Giraffe from Strange New Pod talk about it on her story on Instagram, and I heard a very personal story and the impact that had on someone. I heard other people who are biracial as well talk about that kind of thing and what their experiences have been and the living in two worlds. And I was like, yeah, that's it could seem very funny, but then when that your lived experience has been that that's a joke, or people have treated you as a joke for the same way, then yeah, it can be. It could have been handled a lot better, right? I think.
Oh, so much better.
Yeah.
Agreed. I admit it went over my head. Because it's not my lived experience. Though I did see, obviously, how, this is kind of like the same sort of message, the same sort of storyline where Spock is continually cast aside, bullied by his own people.
Yeah, I agree. All right, we got to move on.
Sorry.
No. It's all good. Terrarium, or AKA the Ortegas Talks to Herself episode, as I have titled it here. Should we do again? Agree or disagree? I agree. I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm an agree. What about you, Tom?
I agree.
GC Steve.
Wait, I'm a little confused. Agree with the title? Agree with the
Just
what are
the
we
episode.
agreeing or disagreeing
Ag-
with? The episode?
It-
Oh, okay.
Did you like the episode? Agree or disagree?
Perfect. Agree.
Sam?
I'm like, woo.
Took a mouthful of ice before you asked me. Agree and then sharply disagree.
I think I've got some moments like that too, actually. There are some things that I appreciated a lot better on my note-taking rewatch, but Melbourne Steve, agree or disagree?
I agree.
You agree? Okay, let's dive into it. First of all, an Ortegas episode, finally, after 3 years, which everyone has been begging for. And it was immediate from the promotional stills right through to when the episode starts. And we've got Ortegas giving a personal log saying that they're charting a peculiar area of space known for unusual phenomenon, the kind of thing that Division 12 normally looks into. I can't remember what Division 12 is.
I looked it up. There is no official memory alpha listing for a Division 12.
Yeah. Sam, do you know what Division 12 is?
I Googled it, and Jim is right. The only thing that there is the Starfleet 12th Fleet, which is from some novel from the 90s, so I doubt that's it.
GC Steve, oh wait, no, he's got his headphones off. Melbourne Steve, did you know what Division 12 was?
Not at all. The only, I think, Battle Group 12 or something like that for round of Beta Z, but that's the only thing I know.
Yeah. We're just, come on, GC, we're Star Trek podcasters. We should know this shit. What are we?
I mean, my brain said Section 31, right? Because it's the nearest thing I could think of, but I have no idea what this is, right?
Yeah. So anyway, we learned pretty quickly that it's a pretty rough area of space. Starfleet wants to deploy a monitoring buoy of some sort in case anyone else comes around, because it's quite an uncharted area of space. But because of all the gravimetric distortions, she's got to go out in the shuttle by herself. No unnecessary weight. A little joke about Spock's weight, which he gets quite offended about. I maintain a 1.8 kilogram variance. Is it not obvious?
Now that struck me as being a very TOS themed type of humor.
That was I found that quite cute, to be honest.
Yeah, so did I.
Yeah. And she's off on the shuttle Archimedes. Pike is a little envious that Ortegas is having all the fun piloting. But as we know, someone going off on a solo shuttlecraft mission where there's bad gravitational stuff going on, that something bad is going to happen to that person. But from the outset, how did we feel? Let's go around the room. How did we feel about, knowing that this was going to be an Ortegas episode? Were we wanting more Ortegas? Were we excited for it? What about you, Jim? You go first.
Oh, definitely wanting more Ortegas. Like, I was really excited for this episode, and when I saw it was like the penultimate episode of the season, I thought, oh, well, Ortegas definitely does not have plot armor from the original series, so I thought this could be a good way to send out the character.
Oh,
I'm glad the character is still going, but that was just my thought as a fan for like, what an interesting way to finally get an Ortegas episode towards the end of a season.
yeah. What about you, GC Steve?
I was excited. I thought, I love Ortegas, and I was very excited to see we're going to have an Ortegas-centered episode.
Sam?
Loved it. I love Ortegas, and I love that we got to spend a whole episode with her.
Yeah. And really kind of got to know her as well, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and can you imagine the fun Melissa Navia must have had acting against literally nothing but an AR screen for most of the episode?
But a real Gorn. That Gorn was not CGI. That Gorn was a
Oh,
practical
really?
that Gorn was a
Yes.
practical effect. They
I
use
did not- I
CGI
did
to
not
animate
realize
the
that.
face from time to time, but the video has emerged of the person sitting around in the set in their big Gorn suit. It was actually real.
Oh, I did not know that. I thought that was the AR wall.
Oh, the AR wall was definitely there and noticeable, but the Gorn was real. Melbourne Steve, were you excited to see Melissa Navia take an episode on all by herself?
Absolutely excited. I love the character. I love the actor. I was really excited to see this.
Did you go to the Hub Trek thing in Melbourne?
Yes, I did.
Oh my god, I was there too. How did we not bump into each other? Sorry, the reason why I say that is because it was a Star Trek convention here in Melbourne and Melissa Navia was there.
She was brilliant. She was absolutely such a delight. I was like, I was sort of like having a general conversation to her, come on the cruise and things like that. And yeah, she was so wonderful.
Yeah, although that was during the strike and they had to be really careful about what they said and didn't say. So one thing I did write here, anyone who's joined one of these conversations with me this season knows that I have a gripe about how long the cold opens take and when they should finish. Finally, in this episode, it was exactly where a cold open should finish. She's been sucked into the wormhole and boom, it ends. Like some of them stretch on. Like in Discovery, they used to go on for like 15 minutes. I was happy to see that we got like the proper cliffhanger into the opening credits with Pike talking normally again. So she emerges trapped in the gravity well of a gas giant. She deploys a subspace relay with a mayday.
Through the butthole wormhole.
I liked the wormhole effect. I thought the wormhole looked good, but sure. I'm just sure where to go with that. Then where did the wormhole go? And we basically we fight. Well, so what part of space did the wormhole go to? I don't think we ever really find out. But the shuttle crashes. Ortegas has no rations, and basically we begin the Ortegas survival kind of thing. I was interested what other people think. Like, how did you feel like knowing this was going to be like that kind of cliche shuttle crash trapped on a planet kind of thing? Did anyone have any like strong feelings about that? Did we kind of feel
Like, I liked the enemy. What is it? Enemy mine situation they got her into. They definitely handled the situation a lot better than they did on Enterprise with Trip trapped on a planet with an alien pilot.
What happened in that one? I forgot. I forget so much of Enterprise.
We don't talk about special cargo. We don't talk about that one.
No, different episode. Different episode. This is an episode where he gets stuck on a planet with another alien pilot, and it's like, as the sun rises, so does the temperature until it gets to a point where it's like lethally dangerous.
You know what? It like with all of Enterprise, it's very, very vague.
Best I can come up with on the fly.
Yeah, fair enough.
I have to say, when I realized it was going to be this type of episode, it was a yay moment for me. I love these types of episodes. Sort of quintessential Trek. Get some great character development, or at least there's potential for that. Yeah, I was excited. I did note though when my rations are destroyed. So much of the shuttle was in such good shape. Why was just the ration compartment screwed up?
I have that in my notes. I'm like, why would it not be in some kind of fire resistant?
Or why wouldn't there be more than one compartment with rations in it? Because that's so important.
Yep.
So
The same thing happened on the Odo Quark episode. Remember they crashed on the planet
Was that
The
the one
and
where
they
Select.
lost all the rations.
yeah. When it's convenient to the plot, you need to leave
Sure.
rations.
no soup for you.
Yeah, exactly. So she remembers she goes to give a personal log and the computer fries out, and then this is where she can just continues talking to herself like she's making a personal log for the rest of the episode, which I think worked for the most part. For the most part.
Yeah, there's always a part to scenes where they're like talking to themselves that it's just like unrealistic, no matter how much they try. But I do agree it did work pretty well.
Yeah, especially when, she's with the Gorn and the Gorn can't understand. Well, actually, the Gorn could understand her. But yeah, it did work. Like, I spent a bit of the early parts of the episode going, oh, why is this happening? Why can she breathe the air? Rah, rah, rah. But I think the power in this episode is it actually explains itself along the way, which was pretty cool. So she needs to survive. She needs food, water, shelter. She's got the shelter. And she makes a little atmospheric condenser, which she makes water.
Yeah,
I was like, why wouldn't she put that outside? Like, why? I guess.
My immediate thought was, at some point, you're going to have removed all the moisture from the air, and you're not going to be processing it through your body fast enough to have more moisture in the air. I'm like, wait, you're. I mean, sure, it'll help you for a little while, but at some point, there won't be enough moisture in the air. Yeah. Yeah, I just, that immediately I'm like, science, no, that doesn't, no.
Yeah.
That pesky science.
That pesky science. I kind of wrote it was like, it reminded me of like Matt Damon in The Martian, where he's like, I'm going to science the shit out of this. Because she was kind of having those kind of reactions to things. Oh, dear. Sam, you live on a farm. You're used to having to survive it rough. Did this seem realistic to you?
I've actually been stuck in a desert before by myself, so I do have experience in this territory. And yeah, you everything in this episode, I was like, yeah, I did that whenever I was stuck in the desert that one time. I talked to myself because you have to think through it and and work through it. It's better when you talk to yourself like that because you're keeping yourself distracted. So I love that. But like everything else, I was kind of like you, Davey. I was kind of like, why can she breathe this air? How is she going to find food on a planet that is very clearly not M class, and stuff like that. But then there's got to be some kind of wormhole alien thing going on. So,
yeah. Back on the Enterprise, though, we find out that 2 days have passed, by the way. So that I started actually thinking here that we were going to get some kind of inner light time dilation thing going on. Because I was like, oh, that hasn't been 2 days. But anyway, it wasn't what it was meant to be. There's no signs of debris, which Uhura thinks, okay, that means that the shuttle wasn't destroyed, which is a good thing. I like how Spock, they call out the fact that, at this stage, they know very little about wormholes. They're notoriously unstable. I think that was kind of a good call out. But Uhura is immediately very focused on solutions. But then we get the stakes come in because Una's like, we've got a vaccine that we have to deliver that we have not mentioned to this point.
4,000.
For 4,000 people.
Yeah, no, but they have to rendezvous with the ship. They had to rendezvous with the ship first. And
yes,
forgive me for jumping ahead, but I did like the whole Captain Decker reference in that in that episode.
There was a blending of a lot of other episodes in this, and so we've got Doomsday Machine with the Constellation and Captain Decker. We've got a little bit of Arena. I also thought The Enemy. This was a little bit like Golondan Core going on as well. Like it was all kind of blending together a little bit, which was done pretty well for the most part. But yeah, it was. I found that I appreciated the vaccine thing, but like when it came up, I was like, wait, why is that? Why is that suddenly coming up now? Why would they send them on this other side quest? When they have a vaccine to deliver. There's always these little things that especially when you've got to sit and take notes on the episode for a podcast, you're like, this doesn't.
No, they used to do that in TNG all the time.
Yeah. Especially given that they're out on a big 5-year mission, supposed to be exploring the depths of unexplored spaces. Like,
well, they did that.
But they also gave us this vaccine.
Crossover.
Sorry, what was that?
They did that in the Lower Decks crossover. They're supposed to give out these seeds or something, and they got fucked up.
Yeah. it's just kind of how it goes, right? There's always got to be something that if you're trying to save a crewman who is lost, there needs to be some other pressing reason which may force you to abandon said crewman. We go back down to the planet next. I wrote here, Ortegas is exploring the AR wall. And sometimes they use it really well in Strange New Worlds. Sometimes not so much. This was a bit of a mixed bag. Planet's shaking. There's unusual seismic activity. Yeah, she notices how huge the gas giant is. She does that little bit of astrometrics in the sand and realizes that the orbits are going to collide and cause some kind of weird storm or whatever. That kind of flew over my head a little bit. Did anyone kind of get the science behind that? You did, Sam?
Yeah, because gas giants are primarily made up of heavy gases and stuff we definitely can't breathe. So if a planet were to pass through, even barely, which the moons of our gas giants in our solar system do, it would literally flood that moon with those gases until it kind of passed through. So what she was worried about was whenever they would hit, it would literally be like you see in the background, the big windstorm behind her. That's probably the gas giant hitting. So I love that because that was real science. I thought that was really cool.
No, it makes sense. I wasn't quite getting it in the moment, but now I do. The more you know. Do you know what? Like, that was never a thing in Australia, but I only know it because it's been made fun of so much in other things.
It was so present in my childhood.
Mine too. Like you could not escape that.
So that's going to limit her time to find food, although she doesn't seem to be in much of a rush. And that happens at multiple points throughout this episode where the stakes are being rising and she sits down and plays chess instead. But before long, she spots the light. She's like, oh, neighbors. And then hands up if you saw the Gorn coming from a mile away. Did everyone know this was going to... Was anyone surprised by the arrival of the Gorn? GC, Steve, you were?
I was. Well, wait. I always hesitate when the recap comes up because I'm watching it as it's happening, right? Like I'm watching it weekly. Do I want the recap? Do I not? Because it often gives spoilers or teasers for what's coming up, right? There's foreshadowing. So there was a whole piece in the recap about the Gorn. So I knew the Gorn were going to come in at some point, and then I promptly forgot that. So I had that moment in the recap, and then kind of just was in the episode. So I was in that moment surprised, and then remembered, oh, right, they told us this was going to happen.
Yeah. And what did we all think of the actual Gorn prosthetic itself? I don't know. I liked it. Sam, you just had a bit of an adverse reaction. I don't know if it was
No,
good or bad.
I was reaching up to unmute my mic because I loved it. Because I work a little bit in practical effects, and the fact that they built a Gorn suit was just, I loved it. As soon as I realized it was practical, I was like, this is the Star Trek I've been longing for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even until you told me, Davey, I didn't even realize it was practical. I thought it was CG.
Yeah, like I said, elements of it obviously were. There were times when you could kind of tell that they'd used some CG to give the face some more, less puppet-like movement. But yeah, in general, it was a human being inside a giant puppet operating it from the inside, which was pretty cool. There's probably some like remote control elements going on for like eyes and mouth and all that kind of thing. But
did the practical Gorn remind anyone of the Skeksis from the Dark Crystal?
Oh my God! Yes.
I was more.
It immediately came to mind the Skeksis.
I haven't seen that film in years, so no.
I actually was thinking of the Koopa Troopers from the 90s Super Mario movie.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
That's what Taya should have done. She just should have hopped and bounced on her.
Yeah, de-evolve. Cretaceous. So you'll never be able to unsee that. But anyway, the Gorn approaches. She's been ruffling around. I wrote down here, the Gorn can immediately tell that Goldilocks has been sleeping in their bed and eating their porridge. Because it's kind of, there's that sense that something's going on. And then we get, the Gorn shows up. grabs her and she's like, all right, just do it. Just get it over with. And it throws her to the side and then just grabs that bug, the little witchetty grub giant thing that comes out of the ground and then just walks off.
Yeah. Although it did to anyone else, did it look like for a second the Gorn was going to drop Ortegas into the hole?
I thought that maybe that was, it's like,
Yeah.
that was where I thought we were in for an arena battle. Possibly. But
Dave,
no.
have you eaten a witchetty grub?
Have I eaten a witchetty grub? Is that what you're putting on your toast right there in front of us?
So, Vegemite.
Vegemite, there we go. It is Sunday morning for us, so we are doing a live broadcast while Steve makes his breakfast. So anyway, she goes back over to the Gorn and she thinks that the Gorn's still going to eat her, and instead it offers her some of the bug meat, in which she eats in a way that I was so disgusted by this scene. I was like,
Oh, I couldn't even look at the screen.
I couldn't look at it.
whatever that prop was, it looked so real and gooey and gross.
I could only watch it on the second take. The first one, I just had to cover my face.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's same. I actually covered my face and just listened. I'm like, okay, I'll know when it's done. I didn't want to watch that.
Yeah. So she eats it because she's starving. Some time
But
passes.
her guttural gag reaction was amazing.
Well, I think that's just Melissa Navu was just so great in this whole episode. Like, it's not any when you have not had a significant plot in 3 seasons and then you get given an entire episode to carry. I think she did exceptionally well. Like,
I agree.
Mhm.
she knows, even though she hasn't had much, like, the character doesn't always have a lot to do, she knows who that character is. And I think we've gotten to know her anyway, and I feel like it was exactly how I expected her to be in this kind of situation. She's kind of like, she's not exactly a badass, but she's got a bit of badass to her, but she's also kind of quirky at the same time. She's a little crazy. Like, yeah, it was good. She was fantastic. So after she does the eating thing, so the Gorn is now asleep, which it does a lot of, by the way. The Gorn sleeps a lot. There's a lot of sleeping that happens in this episode, given how time.
She's injured.
She's not injured in this part.
Oh, fair.
Well, there's not much to do on the planet, really.
True. So, but Ortegas jumps in, and what does she do? She steals the comms array. She's like, oh, that's the comms array, which I guess she would recognize from when she flew the Gorn ship in Hegemony Part 2. And that's when she notices the bright light in the sky. What did people think was happening at this point when you saw the bright light in the sky? What did you think, Sam?
Well, combined with the wormhole, part of me was crossing my fingers and praying it was the prophets, because I thought that would have been so cool if it was. You know what? There was a point in the episode where I was like, God, it would be so cool if Benjamin Sisko just showed up and said I was watching you this whole time. You know, as like that's how Sisko comes back into Trek. But
That would be amazing, but I don't see that ever. I don't. They
No.
could write the best script in the world, and I don't think they'd get Avery Brooks back.
Not at all. So I loved it because it was so classic Trek. It's some weird all powerful alien has abducted a human and put him into a trial, and it's a mystery. Do I wish it wasn't the alien it turned out to be? Yeah, but did that ruin it? A little bit, but I still loved it.
Yeah. What about you, Jim?
I kind of predicted it was going to be the Metrons. Like, given that it's TOS era, advanced species beyond all known reason, and bright white light. That's where my mind automatically went, was to the Metrons.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't clock Metrons at all until the end. GC Steve, you look like you're the same, shaking your head there.
I was like, oh, that's okay. Yeah, I'll buy it.
Yeah.
Cool.
I guess
Melvin
I'm
Steve.
unique then, at least among this panel.
Melvin Steve, what did you think the bright light was before you found out what it was?
Didn't know what it was. This is me being naive, as I usually am when I watch Star Trek.
I had no idea either.
But when I saw it, I was like, of course, it's an evil gay.
It's an evil gay, and it was an evil gay.
It was.
Okay,
The sass.
we'll get to the Metron's drag race when we get to it. So funny. I was watching it and I was watching it with some friends and I just went, okay, Slay Queen. Like the Gorn appears, so all the bugs come out again and the Gorn appears and saves her. I really love this scene, looks so cool. I wrote, it looks like Halo Master Chief kind of stuff with the shield that throws down on the ground. Not before the Gorn gets its leg bitten though, which turns out to be pretty bad for the Gorn and an injury that lasts for the rest of the episode. But then we go back to we haven't touched too much on what's been going back on the Enterprise. So Uhura's desperate. Like Pike's on board. Una's constantly reminding us of the vaccine. She's run 20 simulations of trying to get another shuttle through because the aperture's closing and blah blah blah. And she eventually convinces them to wedge the Enterprise with a static warp shell, because there's nothing a static warp shell can't do, by the way. And then the bit that I bought all of that. The bit that I really rolled my eyes at was the fudging the numbers of the scanner.
Mm-hmm.
How he's
I
like,
got something to say about that, Davey.
Go on, Jim.
Like I thought that was a great character development thing for Uhura, because the Uhura we've seen up to this point has been very much a rule follower, but the Uhura Nichelle played back in the day, like, yeah, she liked following rules, but she knew when to bend them or even slightly break them. I saw this as like the beginning of that character, because this character we see played by Celia doesn't necessarily strike you as the type of person who will pull a phaser on Mr. Adventure. This is the beginning of her transformation into that.
Yeah. Anyone else have any strong thoughts on that? Because I just thought that how she just slid it and it was like above 60%. Go GC Steve.
Exactly that point. Oh, I'm gonna just on my little pad here edit the number, and then suddenly everyone had like the level of control she had from her pad to change the outcome of this. Spock would have seen it. It would have, I think, already have been on the screens for everyone. So it was that moment of and Jim, I love the take on the character development. I think that's great. I think the actual technological moment didn't make sense.
I agree on that.
Yeah. What about you, Melbourne Steve? You looked like you had a thought on that.
I think they all knew that she was fudging the numbers. They were all thinking like she was, except they couldn't do it. She had to be the one that had to fudge the numbers, had to break protocol.
Yeah. I mean, Pike would have done it anyway, but anyway, here we are.
He said as much.
Yeah, exactly. So they're going to do it. We go back down to the planet, and Ortegas is noticing as well that the wormhole is shrinking, and we get some really cute moments building the relationship between her and the Gorn, like where she goes to cook the bug meat, and the Gorn's like trying to put the fire out. She's what did she write? She goes, "You may like pit monster sushi, but I don't."
That was a great line.
That was great.
That was very cute and very Ortegas. I loved it. So there's that, and that she realizes that all of this is going on. She realizes that she needs to fix the comms unit, but they can't do it by herself. They need to communicate. I liked the solution here. I liked that it wasn't a full universal translator, that she just rigged it to be able to detect like yes and no, or agree and disagree.
Agree, disagree.
Yeah. What do we think about like the fact that the Gorn was able to understand her the whole time, though? It kind of made sense, I guess. Go, Sam.
I feel like they've already got universal translators on Earth, so the Gorn, a relatively new species that hasn't really been contacted by the Federation, I could totally buy that they have some kind of advanced, whatchamacallit, universal translator that can understand her.
Yeah, or just the way she put it is like, or not that you study your prey, but you want to understand your enemy, and it's like, agree. So Gorns know more about humans than we think
Humans.
they do. Yeah. So
I think you just pointed on the line where she asked, so you're studying your prey, disagree. So you're studying your enemy, agree. What it does, it exposes the prejudices that the humans, the Federation has against the Gorn. And that's why they're misunderstood, because of our own prejudices.
Well, I rewatched Arena after this as well, and Arena was very much a misunderstanding too. The reason why they attacked Cestus 3 in Arena and started the whole thing was because the Federation was building outposts in their space, and the Gorn actually felt like the Federation was invading and defended themselves. And that's just their nature, to defend themselves violently. So there was some definite parallels to that going on as well. We also found out that we have a Lady Gorn. There were a couple of gals having a sleepover and braiding each other's hair, as she said.
That was my favorite line in the show, from the episode. It was great.
It was very cute. It was very cute. And then they play chess.
As one does.
And they play the Gorn game as well, which I thought was a cute scene, but
Oh, I loved the Gorn game so much.
did it not seem unusual, because she just realized that the wormhole is shrinking. She needs to fix the comms array. She's learned how to communicate, but first, a game of chess, a game that is not well known for being the shortest of games a lot of the times. Like,
Hey, she could have abbreviated the rules for all we know.
I don't know. It took me out. It was a good scene, but it took me out of things a little bit. I don't know if anyone else had a similar experience.
No, not really.
It was very Trek. It was very what I would expect from two people in Trek stuck on a planet.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, look, I can forgive it. It's just, and again, it's probably because I rewatch it and take a lot of notes and have, as I'm going through it, and pay way too close attention to it, that it kind of took me out a little bit in that moment. She also finds out through the communicating that, you know, she tries to heal the Gorn. The Gorn gets upset, and she figures out that the Gorn doesn't want to be rescued because she's weak, which mean that her own people would kill her. Because Ortega said, you know, they'd seen the Gorn destroy their own ships because they were crippled. Instead of repairing them, they see them as weak and destroy them. And she's like, oh, the Gorn should come to the Enterprise and show the Federation that the Gorn are not monsters. I'd like to get people who's got some thoughts that they want to share on, like, just the building of this relationship and understanding. I thought it was really well handled and really well done, given the time that they had in which to tell it. I'll go GC Steve. What did you think?
I think that the way they handled this was pretty clever. I think as you said, it was well done. With the experiences Ortega has had with the Gorn, violent, negative, harmful, traumatic, to put her in a situation where she exhibits enough, I'm going to say, restraint to give the Gorn a minute to figure out what's going on versus just attacking it, or how do I survive the situation? You know, just to see the evolution of the relationship between the two of them, and to a point where not only does she sort of work through her own trauma, right? That we've seen kind of be pervasive through the season. She gives a chance to this other species that we only know of as harmful and aggressive and, you know, the enemy, and befriends someone and wants to give them that space to come back. I mean, if that isn't Star Trek, I don't know what is. I'll leave it there.
Star Trek. No, you're right. It's super Star Trek. Anyone else want to share a thought on this? No? Oh, good. I think Steve summed it up quite nicely, actually. Yeah, that was really good. And also, I love at the moment with just they did so much simple stuff with the agree and disagree when they realize that they're friends and all that kind of thing. Like, even the agree and disagree is always said in a monotone, but it always feels like there's a bit of emotion behind it. It's very, very good. Very, very good.
Yeah, like when she kept saying disagree when Ortega put her final plan into place.
Yeah, so, you know, she realizes she's got to, all right, I need to do something to get attention. She finds the thruster pack because there's a whole thing where she gets chased and she lets the flare off and she damages the comms array and the battery. so she lets the thruster pack off to ignite the atmosphere, basically, whilst the Enterprise has wedged itself inside the butthole wormhole, as it was affectionately referred to earlier.
Oh, yeah. Pike in the pilot's seat. Like, we haven't even touched on that.
Oh yeah, well because he gets jealous that Ortegas gets to have all the fun because he's a pilot himself, which we learned in Discovery and all that kind of stuff too. I don't know why Spock had to sit in the captain's chair during that scene though. That is,
It
that was a
did
bit
seem a little
cheeky.
weird having Spock in command with what was it, number one and Pike in the chairs in front of him.
Yeah, yeah. And, this was there was some clichédness to this kind of climax here, but I liked that there was what you'd expect, right? Like we're at the red line, we've got to leave now. We're scanning all 397 moons or however many it was, and then boom, like the planet lights up. And I love how Uhura like shouts out, only Ortegas would light a whole planet on fire to get
No,
our
number one
attention.
said that. Number one said that.
Oh, I thought it was Uhura who said it. Okay, I got that wrong. Which is pretty cool. And so that's when they beam down to the planet. I kind of expected the next bit, but I still actually gasped. I was when they shot the Gorn, heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. And then the arrival of the Metron. I am the Metron. I have lived for thousands of years.
Cue ABBA.
I mean, what else? What else could they do? They had to go some way, given the appearance of the Metrons from TOS. So
Yeah. On my first watch, I turned to my friends and said, loved all of that, felt the Metron thing was unnecessary. I originally thought it could have ended like that. It could have been a very impactful ending with just the death of the Gorn and the you misunderstood them and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. What did others feel about that?
I'm just thinking of this now. I'm just thinking, like, instead of the Metrons, they could have done. What was the species whose name I'm forgetting? It's from TOS. They were perceived to be like a backwater pre warp development species, but they wound up being like beings of pure energy who were just so bored they manifested themselves in physical form.
The Organians.
Thank you. I think
Hey.
I'm thinking the Organians could have been a great choice instead of the Metrons.
That could almost be a Trek Masters moment there, Sam. That was great. GC Steve, what did you think of the arrival of the Metrons?
I thought it was unnecessary. I think it would have been maybe more impactful for Ortegas to have the whole, I see you or I hear you, I know you're there, and for nothing to happen, and then they energize. I think that
Well,
would have been much
technically,
more
nothing
impactful.
did happen because they erased her memory.
Well, but you see what I'm saying? Like that
I know.
the Metrons not being there, I think would have been completely fine and maybe even a better ending to the episode, because there are lots of things in Star Trek that have loose ends that are never tied up. And that's the beauty of Star Trek, because it leaves space for future writing to like, oh, this thing that happened, we never figured it out. We can explain that now, right?
We still don't know who those little aliens from season 1 of TNG are.
Right.
What about you, Melbourne Steve?
I do like it how the Metreon was kind of saying that, we're observing two barbaric races and we're observing that relationship and see if it will bring peace. I do like it how the Metreon was able to kind of expose humans for, like I said before, the prejudices that we have, that we aren't all just enlightened. We do have hate and misconceived ideas about other races like they do of the Gorn. And the Metron was able to kind of expose that.
Mm. Yeah, and there was some, the Metron did provide context to a lot of the unanswered questions. There was some, that's the reason why they could survive. The Metrons were kind of, facilitating all of that. I loved the line that, she kept you alive because she was lonely. Like, that was that was the whole, like, that they are not actually as different as you might think they are. There was a
That's
real
exactly right.
yeah, and also that this has helped you resolve your own trauma about the Gorn and your
I was
own
just going to mention that.
yeah, which was good. And then they thought, then La'an's immediate reaction of violence meant the Metrons believed, like, okay, you're not actually ready.
Oh yeah, La'an, and I think I heard this on Strange New Pod. She did straight up murder that Gorn.
Straight up.
Straight up. Yep. Shoot. Boom, boom.
Pew pew.
I did appreciate this scene more on a second watch because I then went and watched Arena and then came back and watched this again. And it actually ties into Arena nicely because the Metron, it's a little throwaway line, but sets the scene for Arena by saying, one day we may need to reset human expectations of the Gorn as well. Like on a, because they kind of did the same on both sides here. And that's very much what happens in that. Like, there's very much like, oh, they were just defending themselves. Like, it's not, are we in the wrong? Like, there's those lines in Arena where McCoy says, oh, I think, we were in the wrong here and that's why they attacked because we were encroaching on their territory, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, interesting. It still feels like it could have been, it didn't necessarily need to happen, but I don't hate it. Anyway, that's Star Trek for you. Hugs of Uhura. She doesn't blame La'an. I did write here, so the Metrons in this whole experience would not have been mentioned in any kind of official report. So there's no knowledge of the Metrons, but anyway. Final thoughts before we wrap up. Melbourne Steve.
I like the message this episode sends that as again, I know I've harped on it twice, but I really think it's an opportunity for us to reflect that we do have our own preconceived ideas that are not necessarily always correct. And I think Star Trek really does give us a good glimpse that maybe things aren't always as rosy and, la-di-da as they are, that humans do have a long way to go. I like it. It was a great message, great episode.
Jim?
I don't think I can add anything to that.
Sam?
To add to a point you made, Davey, when looking at Arena as a sequel to this episode, this episode is almost an inversion of Arena, where in Arena you have the Gorn being the aggressor and coming towards the human, and the human having to decide to stop and realize they're in the wrong. In this episode, you have a Gorn who helps a human. So I think that makes me like the episode even more. Just that it's that perfect parallel.
Nice. I agree. This is actually like sleeper hit for me. This one's really, for what's been a pretty dicey season, is giving me faith for how it may end, which I'll be like this when it starts next week. But GC Steve, take us out. What are your final thoughts?
Quintessential Trek.
Yes. Love it. Well, there we have it, everyone. We have just spent 2 hours together unpacking 2 very interesting and very different episodes of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. It was a little jarring to have to context switch from 4.5 Vulcans to Terrarium. But hey, that's what SNW is doing to us this season. Thank you all so much for joining. We will do Hit It again next week for the season finale of Strange New Worlds as a lead-in to the season premiere of Trek Masters, formerly known as Trekperts Quiz, which I'm very excited to bring back. Yeah, that's it. Live long and prosper, everyone.
Live long and prosper.